still in our hands, Liam, but I suppose disappointing the way the whole thing turned out tonight.
Yeah, and it'll be a head-to-head against Denmark, and we have to improve immensely to beat a team like that. We didn't really have any say in the game at all. I thought in midfield, Dara, we were poor. Glenn Whelan was our best player, and he's 35 years of age. McLean had a poor game. Hendrick was terrible again. Brown didn't really figure. We never had a shot on target. Played a bit better in the second half because we tried to string a few passes together, which was better than the first half. But ultimately, you know, we're a class behind a team like Switzerland. And I don't think Switzerland are anything brilliant or anything great, but it just shows how poor we are as an outfit at the moment.
Richie,
I don't think we have the players, to be quite honest.
Richie, what's your view?
I think it's a fair result. I mean, when the game goes to 10 men, you're stretched. The second goal was tough at the end, but I don't think that Ireland team can have any complaints with the result. I thought it was a better second half performance than the first, but the first half it's a very low bar that you're judging.
Well, had
again.
we started, had we began the game as we did in the second half, could it have been a different result?
Do you know what I think was what actually improved when Collins went off? When you don't play with a target man, there's a tendency to not to go long as often as quick, and we kept it better for spells. But as Liam said, we never tested the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper didn't have any save to make it all. So we can sit and say it's a gutsy response, it's an improved response certainly from the first half, but we've said this so many times, the cutting edge, that thing you need in the final third to open up a defence, to dislodge someone out of position, to create an opportunity to finish. This group of players at the moment, we lack that. Aaron Connolly, you know, we would be great to sit here and be talking about him, but he didn't make the impact we would have liked.
Goes down to the last day of this group in the middle of next month when the Republic of Ireland play Denmark. A straight shootout between the two teams to see who goes through to Euro 2020 after the Swiss really took control of their own destiny, beating Ireland by 2-0 in Geneva this evening. Didi, I want to get your take on it all because beforehand I was delighted with you. You said you thought we'd win. Ultimately, it didn't turn out that way. So what happened?
They didn't play much better than they did on Saturday, and I think it took 85 or 86 minutes before the goalkeeper was called into action on Saturday against Georgia. And tonight I think Sommer didn't have a save to make all game, and the ball retention is a major issue for that Ireland team, and we've seen it towards the end of the game. Obviously then at 50 minutes to go you're down to 10 men. If you're not able to keep the ball, there will be a time in the game, especially on heavy going as it was tonight, that you run out of gas. And I think we've seen it. I think the Ireland players were dead on their feet the last 20 minutes, and they just didn't have any more energy anymore to give to turn the result around. And if you look at the two games, I think it's been a very disappointing 180 minutes. Randolph and Duffy, I think these two guys, the development they've had in the last 12, 18 months, they're real leaders. They're there. Whenever you need them, they're there. You know you get a performance of them. I think Egan did well in both games. Apart from that, Glenn Whelan, as Liam mentioned, I think did okay today. But I don't think any of the other outfield players comes out with any credit. And if you only have 2-3 players performing on a regular basis, you struggle to win games in any division, let alone on international level.
Richie, we're going to hear from Mick McCarthy soon enough in Switzerland. But I do have this feeling, and he said it yesterday, kind of about the situation we were in. Beat either one of the two big teams and go through to the European Championships. And despite all the negatives that have been talked about here, we're still in that position. You go and beat Denmark in Dublin and you go to the European Championships. We were third seeds in the group. Everything
Didi said there is true. You can't argue with any of it. And you're right, this is a very strong position to be in. And the phrase we're going to hear a lot tonight and in the build-up to the next game is, if you had offered us this position at some point in the past, you'd take it. And that's also true as well. So on the one hand, very pleasing to be in this position. It's in our own hands and we should be excited by the prospect of a potential win and a qualification. But also, at the same time as being pleased we're here, we're all feeling a little bit deflated by the manner in which we got here. If you reflect over all the performances, like we've got 6 goals in 7 games, 2 of those games were against Gibraltar. The constant struggle we have to pass the ball to a player with the same colour shirt as us, the constantly giving the ball back to opposition. And sometimes, you know, you play against teams that are better than you. That happens when you're a country like us. but we make the situation more difficult for ourselves by doing the basics continuously wrong. Whelan said an interesting thing there at the start. Maybe we lacked a little bit of confidence. It gave him too much respect. It's understandable if this group is lacking in confidence. If I walked off the pitch after playing the way I did on Saturday, and all my teammates played the way they did on Saturday, I wouldn't come into this with confidence. If I reflected on the performances I gave in the previous 5 games, I wouldn't be sitting there going out tonight with confidence. So it'll be interesting to see what mood is in the dressing room ahead of the game against Denmark, because the performances on the pitch have been frustratingly poor in many, many aspects.
But at the same time, Richie, if you say the confidence has been lacking, you're in a position, you're unbeaten in the group. You played 6 games, you played a game each against Denmark and Switzerland. I think everything Ireland had going for them tonight was the position they were in. And confidence was a big part of it, because Switzerland tonight, if they lost, would have gone out of the competition. Now, they had nothing to lose tonight. Now, why can he not go there and play the way they played for 15-20 minutes at the start of the second half? They pinned them in, they got the second balls, they put a few crosses, didn't create any chances, but he felt something might happen. There were 15 minutes in 2 games.
They played with purpose, didn't they, in the second half?
There were
for
15
the first
minutes
20 minutes
of 180 minutes where you actually felt something's going to happen. And you play against a team that lost a game on Saturday, you should have won, gave a 3-goal lead away in the competition, lost a goal 5 minutes to go at the Aviva where they should have won. So they should be out of sight by now. So they would have had major doubts in their mind whether they actually qualify, because they missed so many points from winning positions. So everything they had tonight was, I think, in Ireland's favour. And if you can't go there then and get a performance out of the team, I just wonder, and that's what I said before the game, I think there's more chance they win tonight than they do against Denmark, because psychologically it'll be tough. They got beat 5-1, even though the circumstances obviously played a role in the game. I think it'll be a lot harder against Denmark at the Aviva.
But we've never given a performance. You're right, though, that there was a 15-20 minute spell which was pleasing. There was times in the Georgia home game which was good. We rallied in the last 15 minutes against Denmark and Switzerland when we needed to, because we conceded. The 2 Gibraltar games were awful. Georgia away was awful. We haven't put together any kind of consistency over 90 minutes where you go, I'm back in this team.
But actually, like Liam, Ronnie said just in his sum up at the end of the commentary, he said, look, I wasn't optimistic at all about us going to the European Championships, having been in Tbilisi on Saturday, but he said I'm feeling more optimistic about it now, having seen the way we played in the second half. None of you share that optimism?
Not really, because as we've pointed out, we never had a shot on target. If you're dominating the game or you're in the game, you're going to create chances and you're going to have shots on the goal. We didn't have that. I think McGoldrick was a big miss over the last 2 games. I think he's led the line very, very well in the competition so far, and we didn't have a replacement for him. I thought Collins over the 2 games was very, very ordinary. Hogan, when he came on, didn't do much. And it does beg the question, why isn't Shane Long in the squad? I know he's had a goal drought, but he's been an effective,
for his club.
But he's been an effective player for Ireland down through the years, and I really don't understand why Mick is preferring the likes of Collins to him. I just don't get that. But I think McGoldrick was a big miss. He leads the line well. He links play up. I think you have to forgive Connolly that game. He didn't get any service. He got knocked about. It was a difficult pitch for him. All those kind of things. I think you have to forget that performance. And I think that lad is a very, very good player, and he's going to be a very useful player for us. But the other forwards that we have, we're struggling really, aren't we? We're struggling for quality.
OK. Let's look into that second half, and we look at the second goal, the Duffy OG, and this was it was all hands to the pump at the end, Richie, wasn't it? And his reaction when you see him lying in the goal mouth when the ball has gone in, like he gave everything, but just wasn't Ireland's night.
He did again. He's one of the players we're talking about it being the best performer, one of the top performers. This ball in here was beautifully delivered. Fernandez, you will see from the replay, was going in, but there cut 3 defenders out of it. Duffy anticipated the danger, did as much as he could. Hugely disappointed that the goal, probably credited to him. But the players are flat out at that stage. Fatigue had kicked in. They've been down to a man less than 10 minutes at that stage. But again, you can't argue with the outcome.
Okay. And Shane Duffy, as George mentioned on commentary, he will be available, importantly, for the Denmark match. He's only picked up 2 cautions. We had this confirmed by UEFA. It's 3 for a booking. Now, the same about availability can't be said for Seamus Coleman, who was sent off. And Didi, you're going to... We didn't see a great replay of this during the match coverage of the incident that led to his sending off. And then we had the brilliant save and the clearance and all that stuff after 75 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think we needed a replay for that. I think it's a good spot by the keeper. Xhaka plays a good ball in. It gets cleared, comes to Embolo. He goes to ground, got his hands up in the air. It hits his left elbow. You see it here, his left arm. And yeah, it's a booking. He's been booked before. I don't think there can be any complaints. But as so often in that campaign, Randolph makes a tremendous save. Made a good save in the first half, 1 in the second, and he keeps his team in the game here. And he really has been a revelation, I've got to say. He's, when Shay Given left, I think everybody thought, do we ever get a keeper as good as Shay? And I'm not putting him on the same level as Shay, but I've got to say he's been absolutely tremendous in the qualifying campaign, and he's a big reason with the 2 centre-backs that they, up to this game, only conceded 2 goals. Yeah,
OK. Matt Doherty, we would imagine, will be coming in for Seamus Coleman for that Denmark game, but we'll see what happens. It's the manager who picks the team after all, but Coleman will be out, Duffy will play. So it goes down to the last day. Our old friends Denmark coming to the Aviva on the 18th of November. I'm sure Peter Schmeichel's quotes from the other day will be used by everybody in the Republic of Ireland dressing room after what he said about the way Ireland play and all that stuff. Let's look, Liam, at Aaron Connolly. He started tonight. There was a huge clamour to get him in the team. It was a massive night for him. Tell me how you felt he played.
It wasn't an easy night for him. He got moved position about 3 times. But, he has the ability to hold on to the ball. He picks a foul up here from Lichtsteiner. There's another foul coming up as well. He gets onto this. He gets another foul. He got very, very little service. And when he did, this one here was a good ball from Glenn Whelan. He's away, shows his pace, but maybe a bit anxious playing his first game. You've got to look up there and see what's on. He tried hard. He looks a player that's always going to try hard, but it didn't come off for him tonight. But in his defence, you have to say, did he get a ball from Jeff Hendrick that he could do something with? Did he get a ball from Brown that he could do so? I don't remember our midfield actually making one creative pass in the whole match, which is an indictment, really, isn't it? That these are, Hendrick is playing in the Premiership. They're professional footballers. 20-yard ball, 25-yard ball into a forward where he can get turned or play it in front of him. Never happened.
And it was the same Saturday.
Yeah, it was worse than Saturday.
So you can sit here and say, well, Switzerland, high seed.
I think we're lucky.
High ranking,
after, we're judging how many games we had now. 7, is it?
This is 7,
if we're judging over the 7, we're very lucky to be still in with a chance going into this game, because we got totally outplayed in Denmark, and Denmark had 6 or 7 gilt-edged chances and didn't take them, and we scrambled a goal towards the end, again with desire, commitment and spirit, all the things that we've talked so many times about. Against the Swiss in Dublin, we got totally outplayed. They were wasteful. We got an equaliser towards the end with McGoldrick. But it's a kind of a false... And I think Mick has remained loyal to a lot of these lads because they've beaten Georgia at home and got a draw away, and they've beaten Gibraltar twice. But that's not really a lot to be optimistic about going into a match against a team like Denmark next November.
Well, I suppose the optimism is the fact that we're still there, Didi. Still win a game of football and you go to the European Championship.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Mick said it before the Georgia game or even after the Georgia game. If you gave her that position at the start of the campaign, you would have taken it. So, they're still there. And they've still got a chance.
Didi, a couple of the things that jump out from his interview. He mentioned the wayward passing, dealt with the lack of confidence, feeling that there isn't one, but he says, look, the Swiss were the better team.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody can argue with it. It's actually the first time he addresses that lack of ball retention. And in the past, he's always defended his team. He said they did all right. It's actually the first time he mentioned it, because I think after Saturday he was just as disappointed as we were, the way or the lack of keeping the ball in both games. And you just wonder, are they... Well, he says in training they're good, they pass the ball, there's a lot of quality. It begs the question, we've been asking for the last few years, are they actually better than what they are showing? Because, as Liam mentioned, I don't want to say they're fortunate to be in a position, but defending, discipline, organisation got them to where they are and to give them a shot against Denmark. But I just feel in a nation like Ireland, you've got to have 2 or 3 better footballers in certain positions, because that's all it is. And we've seen it last game. Connolly comes on, you've got one player who can stretch teams, who can keep the ball. It changes the whole dynamic of the team. And if you bring 1 or 2 more footballers into the team, and we might have a chance to talk about the likes of Harry Arter, McCarthy, Shane Long, we mentioned.
I don't think they're going to figure, did he?
Yeah, well, but these guys play in the Premier League, so I think
they've been bombed.
But you've got to,
I don't know if he
take
said that,
them
but
into consideration.
Yeah. Well, like that point about overachieving. Have we overachieved up to now?
Well, he was right not to allow Tony drag him into a conversation about whether the formations or the change of formations led to the poor performance. The poor performance was down to players not doing the basics, and that's not the manager's responsibility. Like when Duffy wins a header, Randolph makes a save, Coleman does a really well-timed tackle. I don't look at those instances and say that's good management by McCarthy. I think that's those players doing what they're put out there to do. So when there's a 20-yard pass gone astray, or McLean in the build-up to the goal just hoofs the ball off the pitch under no pressure, those players need to take responsibility, and I think Mick has been overly loyal to some of them. And there's a call for some of them to be kept on the bench for the next game.
But Liam, final words to you. Denmark next month, 1 game to try and do this.
Yeah, good side. We know Eriksson, what a good player he is, but he's not having a great time this season. He's out of form. You know, as Mick said, it's a cup final in the Aviva. It'll be a full house, great atmosphere, and let's go for it. You know, we didn't go for it tonight, I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
We have 2 shots. 1 is gone, and now we have another one. Middle of November. I'm looking forward to it.
We certainly are. Okay. Some people who are far cleverer than I am have been looking at some of the permutations, and there is a nightmare scenario where if Switzerland drop points, for example, against Georgia, you could have a position where all 3 teams finish on 15 points, and then it comes down to head-to-heads. It's unlikely, but just, I suppose, have a think about that before you go sleep tonight. It might give you a nightmare. That's